She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and I'm very excited because this is the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. That's what I'm calling it when I have a guest. Before we get started, though, I want to thank our sponsors, because without them, there is no us. Our first sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer. They can help you with your social media. They can help you analyze the demographics of your business. They're also experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, for all of your Greek entertainment needs, and hellenicfestivals.org to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. Yes, there will be Greek festivals, I promise. Our other sponsor is Select Flex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert, and you put it in your shoe. Why do you need it? Because you need it for your back and your alignment, your hips, your entire body. We're going to talk a lot about that with our guest as well. But we also love this product because they have an adjustability in the arch that you can adjust the arch firm, extra firm, depending on what your needs are. I never work out without these in my shoes. I never walk around in New York City without these in my shoes. They are fabulous, much better than anything you will find over the counter. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount if you put in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25. Go to their website, selectflex.com, SELECTFLEX.com. There's a 30-second video to tell you how these work. I always say that these are the best invention since suitcase on wheels. All right. I'm very excited for our guest. We had a little technical difficulty, but we are here and it is early, okay? This is what I do for the love of you people. I wanted to get this. She is a doctor, so I don't even just want to say guest. She's a doctor. And we need someone like her because she is a holistic wellness doctor, and her perspective, and from holistic and wellness perspective, if anybody has been listening to me for years knows that that's my jam. And she is a chiropractor, a nutritionist, a health expert, a life expert. She is going to tell us how we can also get through this situation that feels never ending. I was going to say something else, but I haven't had enough coffee yet to even be mildly witty. So please welcome my guest, Dr. Anne Doggett, or Doggett, or however she would like us to refer to her, but I'm just going to call her Dr. Anne. Thank you for joining us so early in the morning, 8 o'clock, which I never do a podcast this 8. Not that I'm not up at 8, it's just that I'm not functioning and speaking to anybody but my husband at 8, and that's usually just grunting and yelling. So how are you? Good morning.
I'm wishing I had some of your coffee, because your energy is great for 8 a.m.
Oh God. And you know, I didn't sleep. And I have been working and sitting in I'm not even sitting in a chair. I'm sitting in a bench, which you would balk at the minute that you saw it. So last night, ironically, I'm having pain on my right side, on my back. And I was like, I wish you could virtually adjust me and put your hands on me and feel me.
In the absence of being able to do that, I can tell you our Mintrans formula is really great for sleep. It's calcium, magnesium in a 5-to-1 ratio. You have a lot on your mind. You're planning something new. You're thinking about getting up and having this go off well. So Mintrans will keep your nervous system relaxed. It's 5-to-1 ratio, calcium, magnesium. It's one of our gems in our office for sleep. And it can be used for children too, which helps parents in the end. So take 5 at night when you have something like this or any trouble. Keep it by your bedside, a handful of Mintrans.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to go to your website. I'm sure by the time when this is done, I'll be shopping. But your practice, it's called wellness practice, is called Wholebody Solutions.
Correct.
And, by the way, just also to let everybody know, because sometimes a lot of my guests are from the New York City area. You are from Boston. Your office is, to tell us exactly where your office is, what town?
We're 10 minutes south of Boston in Quincy. And we've been here for 31 years now. You know, we moved one location to another for bigger space and to accommodate additional therapies. We have chiropractic, we have acupuncture, we have nutrition, we have a unique therapy called brain integration for people who've had concussions and trauma of any type, not just physical. And they help to rewire the brain. So it's a real synergy of therapies here with a big focus on nutrition. I have a master's degree in nutrition. I'm certified in herbal medicine through the Australian gurus in herbal medicine. They're the best in my opinion and experience. So it's happening at Wholebody right south of Boston in Quincy.
Okay, so everybody, if this is your first time tuning in, if not, you've heard me speak before. I have been on the holistic alternative medicine train forever, from my early 20s, which was forever ago. And very quickly, I'll tell you exactly what happened. When I was 18, 19, college, and right after college, I got a lot of sore throats. That was my vulnerability. And go to the doc, antibiotic. That's all they know, script, antibiotic. And I just, after a few years, and, here I am, I'm very young, but I just felt just awful, sluggish, bloated, this, that, starting to get a lot of bladder infections, just lots of stuff. And I remember I was in public accounting at the time, and I was at a client, and I was talking to someone that worked there, and I went through this whole thing, and she goes, listen, she said, modern medicine, for all that it's good, but that's all they know. They don't treat what's going on in your body. They just give you something, it's like a Band-Aid. And so she gave me the name of this guy. I totally actually forgot his name. I'm sure I could find it someplace. And she said to me, she goes, he's really bizarre. She said, but I used to get reoccurring bladder infections, and he really, really helped me out. And you do this detox. I'd never heard of any of this before. And long story short, I went to him, and he was really weird. But he gave me some therapies, and when you say detox, I mean, I thought I took something else, and because there was so much yeast in my body. That's basically what was going on. And so I was with him for a while, and then I did my own exploration. And then ultimately, years later, not that many years later, I went to a chiropractor. And chiropractors, as they was like yourself, getting into nutrition, integrative. He also was into kinesiology. So right. I am so happy that I've lived this life. And I always tell people, and I'm sure you do too, and as do all of your colleagues, you have a broken leg, you go get it, you go put a cast on it, okay? You need heart surgery, you go get it. That's not what that's about. But it is a lifestyle, and it's about supporting your whole system. And it's about taking care of things before they exacerbate into bigger things. So I have mad respect for what you do, and the fact that you've been in it for 30 years. Like now it's common. So like when I tell this story, it sounds really weird, but back then, which wasn't that long ago, but back then it still was not as acceptable. And I'll tell you when I think that will really sort of cross over is when insurance pays for it, because unfortunately people have that mentality like, well, if insurance doesn't pay for it, I'm not going to do it. And it should be part of the insurance plan where people could get covered. I would bet my life on it that more people would be healthy, have have they go to, doctors like you and practice what we try to practice. And it doesn't mean it's 100%. And it doesn't mean that I didn't pig out on chocolate a couple of days ago. But it just means that it's just a different way of life. And it's not always taking a pill to, fix it.
Right. You don't want to cover up a symptom. That's the body's way of telling you something's out of balance. And there's a key philosophical difference. We want to explore, why do we have the symptom? If you avoid chocolate for 3 months and then you have chocolate and you have a headache, then you say, okay, do I want the headache? Is it worth it? And we can make choices. And that's really what it's about, exploring the underlying root cause. And it's not always diet and food choices, because you have physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. So as the emotion piece is explored, you get a whole new level of information there.
Yeah. So where did your interest come? What sort of like your journey that led you to this?
Well, it's interesting because my earliest memory of helping someone was when I was 4 years old and my father asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said, I want you to quit smoking. And he tells that story. I don't tell it, but I guess I knew that wasn't good for him. And when he asked me what I wanted, that was sort of my answer. And then I look at my evolution. I thought I wanted to deliver babies. So when I was in middle school, I had a science teacher took me under her wing. She said, it's really difficult to get into medical school. You have to start strategizing now. So she had me, participating in science fairs, and I loved it all. And I applied to Bowdoin College, and they had a great program for getting a reputation for getting students into medical school. So I attended Bowdoin for 2 years doing their pre-med program. And in the process, I was also working at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston. And I worked there in a number of different capacities. I started when I was 15 years old, got working papers. I worked in the transportation department, moving things all over the hospital. And I ultimately took a look at what the physicians were doing and how happy they were. And I talked to most of them. And in the process, I realized that it was going to be tough to deliver babies and be up all night and raise a family of my own. And a lot of the physicians were very dissatisfied with their quality of life. I also met a tech who was applying to chiropractic college, who he worked in the blood gas lab, which was one of my jobs. I got to monitor the blood for people in surgery. I got to see a Harrington rod being inserted in a teenage girl who had scoliosis. And it's kind of just putting all this information together and wondering, how could I impact people and also have a life that was compatible with raising children? Because I knew at my core that was super important to me, to be able to do both. So I was pre-med at Bowdoin College, and I had filled, my organic chemistry and calculus and all those things. And I decided to apply to chiropractic college. And I had 2 personal experiences. My mom had migraine headaches, and she went to fill a script at the pharmacy, saw an ad for a chiropractor, had an adjustment, and lo and behold, didn't have headaches anymore. At the same time, my niece with the scoliosis, who was a candidate for Harrington rod, saw the same chiropractor and didn't need the surgery, had great relief through the chiropractic process. So it was all these things that came sort of together for me, and I switched gears and applied to chiropractic college.
It was obviously meant to be. This was for your journey for sure, to be in health and help people somehow, some way. But again, you went into something that wasn't as popular at the time. So I give you a lot of credit for following your instinct and knowing what you wanted to do. So as time has gone on, what do you think has been some of the best evolutions in the holistic wellness area?
It's interesting because I know as a profession that chiropractors felt really terrific when insurance programs started covering the services. But then as with anything, when higher politics get involved and policies, and other people can start to dictate what it is you do that's acceptable. And so what's viewed as, progress for the profession in terms of inclusion in insurance, to me, that was not as positive, because then I had to take notes, and instead of like being with my clients and really listening to them and understanding what was going on in their life, I had to be submitting claims that were to somebody else's standards and following policy and knowing, okay, I have 12 visits with this person, and human beings are not that. They're not cookbook. Some people come in, they need one visit, and you get to their root cause and they need just one or two things, and other people need 16. And so I think, there's been a lot of change in the industry. Some things viewed as positive, some things we fought really hard for that, in my humble opinion, may have taken us into a system that gives us less sort of control over helping the individual for where and what they are. There's certainly more acceptance. You meet more people who are under chiropractic care, but when you look at the statistics of the population, if you see people and the number of people under chiropractic care who report positive results, it's enormous. And then you look at the general percentage of the population that seeks the care, and it's not as enormous. So I think we've seen cooperation on some level. I have a colleague who's an MD who sends me clients regularly. I take care of doctors and nurses, and a lot of nurses actually see the value in this type of system. I love to see people when they've exhausted all other options, because they come on ready to do what they need to do. And over time, I think we'll see other changes as we explore what really works for people, which is you've got to find the root cause, and you've got to work on the whole person. You need to look at the chemistry, and that could be too much of the wrong thing or not enough of the right thing in terms of diet. It could be the emotions. You've got anger and sadness and sorrow and fear and fright and joy, and any imbalance in any of those, as we're going through stressful events. I was thinking driving in today, I drove in a little bit earlier, and I thought that was going to be an easier commute, and actually more people on the road a little bit earlier getting to their destinations. And the amount of like anger right now that has to come from fear everywhere. People's tolerance levels are low, frustration levels high. All those things play out in health and wellness.
Yeah, people, if you're I'll say like a traditionalist, okay, you have something, you go to the doctor, he writes you a prescription, and that's kind of that, that route. I mean, my parents are very big. Oh, it's okay with the diabetes. Your father's sugar's up. He'll just up his medicine. It's always about the pill and I'm not putting anybody down. And that this is how it's going to sound. I'm not putting anybody down. But I mean, I had we're not friends anymore, but I had a very good friend who was a nurse. Trained as a nurse, very smart, knew her meds, but she loved meds, and it was like she couldn't talk to her ex-husband without taking a half a Xanax. And again, I'm not putting anybody down, but I know for me, I'm not a good medicine taker, and I'm very tiny. You're also a fellow petite lady. And I know that I've had reactions just from like antibiotics, because my body can't handle it. Because when they're in the lab testing, it's on a 250-pound man, I mean, it just doesn't work for me. And like you said before, what I want to point out is everybody's body chemistry is different. And I used to feel like, and not to put, I feel like I have to keep apologizing, because there's a lot of brilliant people that do a lot of great things, but it's like, I'm not a lab rat, this is Ellen, and this is how I'm constructed, and this is what works for me. And that's what I love about your type of practice and your type of medicine. You look at my body as an individual and not a cookbook or cookie cutter type of thing. And also too, what you just said, it's mind, body, and soul. So we don't sometimes take, especially, if you don't live in a sense of awareness, you don't realize that your emotions play a huge part in disease, like the real disease, like heart, the
Cancer,
big C,
the big C, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Well, you think about, so we always say that emotions are energy, and there's a basic law in physics, which is energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. So if you don't move energy and it gets stuck, it creates dis-ease. And, the Asian, Chinese culture and the way that they look at the emotions and health and well-being, stagnated anger affects the liver, fear and fright, kidney, compassion, the spleen. The spleen's an overlooked organ, and you don't hear people saying, "Oh, my spleen's out of balance," but it actually contributes to your immune response and your blood quality. And so, joy, the heart. How many people don't have enough joy in their life? And these things matter, and they add up. So you're come in with a genetic tendency. Then you're fed a certain way. If you're fortunate enough, you'll be breastfed for the first year. That is something we're not seeing enough of now, with the demands of the choices that women are making to be in the workforce, and how challenging that is to really nourish our infants for that first year of life. And then you have the commercialization of food. We're no longer harvesting what we're eating. We have to put it on trucks and ship it to food markets. And so they have to have preservatives, and things can go rancid. And this whole change in what's available to us over, decades now, and the consequence on our health for all of that. So, and then you have to look at movement, right? So are you getting out? Are you moving the body? Are you strengthening the muscles? And there's all different, systems and ways to do that. And again, you have to look at the individual. I mean, I was on, my daughter is a former SoulCycle instructor. And she was furloughed with this situation, as you referred to it. And she's now doing a platform online where, you can have that community feel, and you can see somebody working out beside you. And, she and her partner have put a lot into developing this. And I took her class the other night, and she's on the West Coast, so it's a different, time of the day. But she was saying, guys, don't judge yourself, like, just get moving, any type of movement. You could pull up the computer screen in your apartment. You don't have to do 12 of these if you don't feel like it today. You do 6 of them. And I was comparing it to some of the other types of fitness that I participate in, where it's like push, 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 if you're not uncomfortable, you're not making change, and all this other jazz. So everyone is different, is the point, as you mentioned, and we all need different approaches to achieve our optimum potential. And the optimum is different for everybody. Your optimum might be getting up at 5 and recording a podcast and going for a walk and cooking a great meal for your family. And, somebody else's optimum is that they actually have an appetite, and they woke up with some sense of, something that was going to, get them out of bed. And our situations can change in life. We're dynamic beings. We have different events, life events. We have, where we evolve. And so at each point we need different types of support, and everybody's unique.
Yeah. And, mentioning the exercise and movement, obviously chiropractic care is a very big thing that you do. I mean, I cannot even imagine having gone through my pretty much adult life without having been adjusted. It puts your body into alignment, and I feel so much better. I can't even explain it. I mean, you just have to go. I always say it's, Humpty Dumpty. It puts me back together again. And stress, some people like, oh, my back, oh, my and it's just sometimes a lot of it, I don't have to tell you, but tell my listeners, it's a lot of it is brought on by stress. It's like your spine might be okay. It's just everything you're carrying in your body.
Think about just the physiology of stress alone, how many B vitamins we burn up, the effect of high cortisol on things like inflammation in the body. I mean, there's so many pathways that we could explore on the stress front that affect our health. And I will say here, sugar consumption is huge in terms of physiologic stress. So we look at, high levels of insulin and inflammation. I had a friend, a good friend, and she recently said, I'm going on the cabbage diet. What do you think about the cabbage diet? And at first I was like, oh, these fads. But then I realized when somebody does any type of change, they usually will eliminate sugar. And so about 3 weeks later, she called me and she said, you're right about the sugar. I don't have hip pain anymore. So I don't care if it was a cabbage diet or, carrot juicing, or when you eliminate white flour and white sugar, the stress physiologically on the body can shift. And then when you look at emotional stress, so what do you do when something doesn't go right? Where does your mind go? How do you react? How did you learn to react? And most of what we do, we kind of learned from our parents within the first 6 years of life. And this is affecting how our bodies go into a stress response. And this is one of the beautiful places I love herbal medicine. I've studied extensively. I'm passionate about where I get our herbs and how they're prepared. Are they pharmaceutical grade? Because our plants were our original pharmacy. Before any sort of big pharma industry with, other potential interest got involved in health, we were using plants. And my mentor, who I learned the majority of what I use and practice, two Australian naturopathic doctors, Angela Highwood, who came to the US from Australia to teach the US chiropractors and natural health community how to use herbs. Her grandfather was a pharmacist, and she was in pharmacy school, and she started to look at when she was studying, she said, this isn't what my grandfather did, and she switched gears and became a herbal medicine doctor. And I followed her and I got my degree from her. And we use plants. One of the beautiful things is how they affect the stress response. To tie it back to, what do your adrenal glands? They produce cortisol. Cortisol drives stress. That was designed to help the zebra escape the lion for 2 minutes when they're running through the forest, where your cortisol goes up. And then the stress response is accelerated heart rate, energy gets diverted from digestion to your large muscles so you can run and escape an imminent threat. That's supposed to be a couple of minutes once or twice a year. We have this response that's going on in our bodies every day. And the plant extracts, I love our ashwagandha, and you have to be really careful about where you get your supply, because you need the right part of the plant, you need the right species, you need the right preparation process to be able to extract the compounds that will work. And in terms of mediating stress, which was our original point here, there's nothing better, in my opinion, than a good quality herbal medicine targeted for that individual's state of exhaustion of the stress glands to impact their health, coupled with food-based sources of B vitamins. A lot of what people do on the supplement piece is they look for a B that they could get at a GNC or even a Whole Foods or even a decent quality place, and they're not food-based. And those types of Bs will actually impact stress in a negative way over time. They'll give you like a temporary increase in energy, but they're synthetic and they can throw the chemistry out of balance over time. So stress response is key.
So basically what you're also saying is that people take, and this happens probably more often than you want to even think about, people will take supplements thinking that they're doing something good, but if it's not the right supplements, or if it's all it's got fillers in it, it's not doing anything for you, and it's all sort of genetically modified, then it's actually causing you more harm than it is good.
It can cause more harm than good. And it's interesting because, doing what I've been doing for over 30 years, I've seen many different trends. And I think one of the first things that there were two vitamins and minerals that had a lot of press when I was starting to practice nutrition. One was vitamin E, and people were taking it for cardiovascular health. And the supplements, even good quality, well-respected companies, were using a fraction of E called alpha tocopherol. And they were thinking that, they were helping people. And then the research came out that said, people that take alpha tocopherol are not getting the same results as people who eat food sources of vitamin E.
Right.
And then the industry said, oh, we need a mixed tocopherol product. Let's do gamma and alpha together. And so they came out with mixed tocopherols. The truth is, you get mixed if you eat the food that has vitamin E. And so, I not only will you not get a result and potentially waste your resources, but you may also do harm. And especially, as you mentioned, with binders and fillers. And I think, New York State actually did quite a bit of research on this, going into supplement stores and taking products off and measuring, were the compounds that were alleged on the labels actually in the products. And this is why I do things like this podcast, because I feel like my purpose in part is to educate people so that they can make choices that impact their health positively. And so many people are misled. There's more information now than ever. There's more access than ever. I have friends and family that are passionate about their health that text me daily after reading something, like, oh, should I be taking, ginkgo? Yeah, you should, and if you want to keep your mental health and memory in place, but you need a good quality. You can't just go to the, corner store or CVS and start to look at your labels, especially the binders and fillers and wax and coating, but also you don't have the ability to really know, because the industry's not regulated well, where is that compound coming from? What part of the plant did they use? For instance, echinacea, which is one of my favorite herbs. If I had to live with one, that might be it. There are different species of that plant, and there's a different part of the plant. If you take the flowering top, you're not going to get a result. If you distract it in water, you're not going to get a result, because they're fat-soluble compounds found in the root of the plant. So we have Echinacea premium. It's 2 different species. It's the root of the plant. It's alcohol distracted. I know that my patients are going to get a positive benefit from that. No contraindications. Science continues to validate how it works. It doesn't stimulate the immune system. It actually turns on the proteins in the cell that makes protective compounds. Who doesn't want that? Right. Get the body ready for the inevitable stress that's going to come our way by turning on the proteins with a plant. So anyway, that's my.
No, you said echinacea. That was my go-to, the echinacea spray forever when I would start to get the sore throats. So it was like a miracle drug for me. I absolutely, I'm a big echinacea fan. I'm with you. I want to just mention 2 things, and then I want to talk about COVID and what your advice is to people that, can't come to your office, and what they should be just doing sort of on a daily basis to protect themselves. But as far as movement goes, that is so important. And I'm a big workout person. Funny, because the workouts got more intense as I got older. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, gee, why didn't I do this when I was 24? Oh, right, because I was, too busy going out, working and going out. But anyway, so I think that that's important. And I say to people, whatever works, whether it's a stretching, whatever it is, you got to do something. I have I have 2 sisters. Both of them do not work out. They're not going to watch this, so I don't really care. They can lose when they're short. They can lose a few pounds. And my one sister is really horrible. And by the way, she's a lawyer. I mean, she's a professional. We're not talking about people that don't know things. And you'll be horrified. She drinks Coke in the morning, Coke, the real Coke, and then
16 spoons of sugar.
And then she goes to me, will you drink coffee? And chocolate, sugar. I mean, I don't know how she functions. And I mean, she's got a high stress job and never exercises. Anyway, so I just slammed my siblings, but I struggle. I have a sugar issue. So let me just.
I can help you with that.
So. Let me tell you something. What happened the other night? This is typical. This is like this is something that I think other people can relate to. I had to have a family conversation the other night, and it was very stressful. And afterwards, and we were there for dinner, and I had a little bit of wine. I'm not a big drinker. It's really just red wine, a couple glasses, maybe a few times, like a month, not even a week. And we ate dinner, and I was hungry, because that's a whole nother thing. I need to eat when I need to eat. But as you know, sometimes you're with people, and well, there was my other sister. I was over there, to them, dinner is 8 o'clock. To me, dinner is 6:30. Because I haven't really eaten that much. I don't like, I'm hungry and I really hate eating all that food because a few hours later I'm going to bed. I would rather eat all that food at 4 or 3 or 2. Anyway, so we ate dinner and there was vegetables and stuff. There was pork. I had it because I needed some protein. But here was the kicker. I was still very upset, the conversation we had. So I know my sister keeps lots of chocolate and cookies and this and that. And I went nuts. And the thing is, nobody realizes I have an issue. Like, to them, it's like, oh, she likes sweets or whatever. And that's why I have pain, because I blew out whatever it was, my hip, whatever it was. And then I woke up, I'm bitchy, I'm grumpy, I hate myself, I feel fat, I'm bloated, I can't think, I'm foggy. And then I go to exercise because I think I'm gonna try to, jump it off and do jumping jacks, and that's gonna come off. And I will probably wind up hurting myself because I didn't stretch. So I'm saying all this because, one, I'm neurotic. And two, this is the vicious cycle that a lot of us go through. And for me, who I am knowledgeable and I still can't get off of that hamster wheel. And just to get to the movement part for a second. So yes, it's the Northeast. Yes, it's cold. Yes, I'm home a lot and I'm also working. But like last week, I didn't leave my house for 5 days. I can't. And because now I got to put a mask on, I hate the mask.
Yeah.
Just that whole energy of that. So this is even like worse.
Yes.
So help us, Doctor. Help
Okay.
me, Dr. Ann, please.
All right. So you're not alone, and there's many, many pieces to this story that you just shared. Okay. So number one thought for me is you have a family tendency. You got a father with diabetes, sweet cravings. There's a tendency.
My mother too. My mother, not diabetes, but desserts, sugar, stuff.
Right. So what happens is that insulin level goes higher than maybe a person that doesn't have the genetic tendency, which is all the more reason that you have to be careful of it. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, sugar cravings, I'm going to use my favorite herb, which is gymnema. You can use it in liquid form. It hits the taste buds. Then sugar doesn't taste sweet to you anymore. It helps with the behavioral piece. When I learned about gymnema, my instructor was telling me that he had orange juice in the morning. He's like, this orange juice is bad. Went and opened another one. He's like, oh, another sour orange juice. What is this? And then he recalled that he had started taking this herb, gymnema. So liquid gymnema is really powerful for helping people break the sugar habit. And that's just a piece of the picture. So then you say, okay, I'm stressed, I'm going to go for a sweet. And then there's a behavioral modification piece. That's a habit that's been developed. You'll have to look at it and explore yourself. Am I a type of person that could have 2 or 3 bites of a 75, 80% chocolate? Because cacao actually has some benefits for the microcirculation. So it's not, I always keep some chocolate in my refrigerator. I could stay there for 4 months. But if I really feel like having a piece, I know not everybody's like that.
Oh my gosh.
If you're not like that, then don't have it in your fridge. But if you're like that,
I do
go for.
Yeah, I do get the dark chocolate. So on my days where I'm good, I'll have a couple of those to get me through. But something like that, when I'm off, I call it off the reservation, and I can just go nuts, which is exactly what I did. And it was all pain. Okay. I'm in pain. I'm upset. Exactly. People aren't talking. I'm trying to get the family together. It's so frustrating.
So here, that's the behavioral piece. So you say to yourself, I'm going to go for the chocolate, but first I'm going to go into the restroom and I'm going to take a deep breath. And I know that if I exhale twice as long as I inhale, that I'm going to eliminate some of the negative energy and I'm going to shift my physiology from anxiety to something else. So maybe before I reach for the chocolate, I'm going to take 3 minutes and go into the restroom and I'm going to count. I'm breathing in for 4 seconds. I'm going to exhale for 8 before I breathe in again. Or I'm going to do a forward bending posture because the frustration tension is held in the back line of the body. If you know yoga at all, you just forward bend, go in the restroom, go out. If you have the ability, you could go for a walk, but we can't always do this in every situation. But usually you can excuse yourself to the restroom.
Yes.
And, you could do a forward bend. just, you'll feel your hamstrings a little bit tight. I'll have to get, one of my goals is to demonstrate how to do these things properly and have them available on our site so people can click on. It's a very powerful, at home, easy to use tools. But back line of the body, frustration, tension, that can help. Breathing, exhaling twice as long as you inhale. Those are two strategies for eliminating negative physiology. So you would do that. You would maybe say, okay, I'm going to have 2 and then I'm going to go have a glass of water. One thing we know about sugar is that if consumed on an empty stomach, it's going to affect your white blood cells much more dramatically. So you have a 60% reduction in the function of those white blood cells if you consume sugar on an empty stomach. So I like to tell people, eat first, eat your protein and eat your fats. You're going to be less likely to crave it in most situations. The pH of your food, the balance of your food, if you can crave the acidic to balance it out, which is sweet. So there are all kinds of strategies there as well. But in your particular situation, we need to work baseline to decrease your risk for sugar handling stress. I would use our Gymnema. We have a metabolic complex, which is really terrific blend of herbs. There's cinnamon bark in there. It's wonderful. We're using it not only to help people who have genetic tendencies or people who are pre-diabetic or people whose insulin is shooting a little bit higher, and you know that because you crave carbs, and when you need to eat, or you start getting irritable. Those are all sugar handling stress indicators. So you need metabolic complex. 2 tablets twice a day is a fair way to go. We're using that as part of a fat burning protocol right now with 2 other support products, berberine and milk thistle. This is a great strategy. We have people take 2 of each twice a day. It's stabilizing the sugar, so it's not as difficult to avoid the carbohydrates. And carbohydrates, by the way, are not just processed sugar. It could be your banana, it could be your rice cakes. Carbohydrates are anything that causes that insulin production to go high. So you have to work with a genetic tendency, and you can do that through herbal medicine. You have to work with the behavioral piece. You have to explore what you do when you're stressed and create some other strategies. And then when you do have the occasional indulge, let it go as soon as possible and forgive yourself, because that is what will dictate your success in terms of lifestyle changes. People who are on diets and they have, I call them indiscretions. You have your occasional choice that you make that if you sit too long, you might regret it. And then you have some negative self-talk. That doesn't really serve you in progressing toward healthy changes. So you just go, that was a horrible night. I hope I don't do that again real soon. And to avoid that, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not going to pound my body because I now feel badly about my behavior. I'm going to say, I'm going to try to listen to my body. I know movement's important. Maybe I can't go to a full out jumping jack today. Maybe I can go for a walk around the block. There's a fine line between listening to your body so you don't hurt yourself and respecting your body and honoring your body than punishing your body. And I think this is important distinction, and it's a difficult distinction. And I'm thinking about it more as I mentioned my daughter, it's called Endorphins Fit. And there's a whole variety of classes that you take. You put your class in the cart, $10 for a half an hour or whatever. And every day is different. Today I might want a little yoga. Tomorrow I might want a cardio, interval training and again, we like these cookie cutter ways of being, especially if we are routinized people and we do best with routine. But our reality is that the body is actually different from day to day. Our circumstances can change from minute to minute. And sometimes we have to push a little bit to get that first part of the process. And then you can check in and say, is this feeling good? Or do I really feel like I'm, pushing and exhausting? So anyway, there are some tips for you. Check out Metabolic Complex, check out Gymnema. Journal writing is also a wonderful way to explore our frustrations and our emotional.
I do do that. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. Everybody's got their thing. Some people it's the salt, the chips that I can.
That's adrenal. Salt is adrenal fatigue. Salt is typically your adrenals are fatigued.
What about like in the morning? Like for me, like I would eat an apple, but that's bad because it just spikes up your blood sugar.
I wouldn't label it that way, actually, because the apple has fiber in it. It's actually one of the lower sugar fruits that are available. So, Melvin Page is a medical doctor who looked at the effects of insulin on recovery from cancer, and his programs are really wonderful. We use them as handouts in our office. Apples are one of the lower sugar fruits.
Oh,
And you could have that as a snack twice a day, as a meal anytime. I wouldn't say it's bad. And again, we have to look at how does Ellen respond to the apple? If you have the apple, do you feel satisfied, or does it leave you looking for a stimulant or for another food 2 hours later? Maybe you need to put some peanut butter with it and take some protein and fat. If you're really in a blood sugar handling stress, maybe we eliminate all fruits. But again, we want a lifestyle change. An apple, organic apple that hasn't been sprayed with a pesticide is a perfectly legitimate choice.
organic, huh?
Certain things.
But the thing is, the apples is $5. So that's the problem with
That's true. I heard my bar instructor the other day talking about these oranges at Whole Foods.
right.
They were about that, $5 an orange.
Yeah. If I want to piss my husband off, I go to Whole Foods. He's like, it's a scam. It's a scam. What, like chicken? So we go to Costco, and the chickens, they have 4 breasts on them, but that's okay. It's perfectly normal. That's a whole nother thing with what's going on in organic and foods and all that. But we have to ask you, because we're starting to get out of time. So
Yep.
we're in coronavirus. Who knows what this. I'm still hanging on to the hope that this thing will die itself out somewhat, and people will not have to get inoculated.
Okay.
I am not on the, listen, I want whatever best, of course. I want everybody to be healthy, but I'm not on the vaccine train. And
look, I'm already seeing vaccine reactions in my office. Young, healthy people in such pain, not able to sleep, high fevers. Again, I don't want to talk about controversial issues. I'll talk about what I know is true. What I know is true is that the state of your immune system is affected by your zinc level, by your calcium level, by your vitamin C level, by your vitamin D level. We know these things. So these things are in our control. We also know that sugar affects our immune response. So number one, eliminate the sugars, eliminate the processed sugar. I know I make that sound easy. If you need some structure, check out our detox program. We have 28-day ones that have chai flavored drinks. They're available on our website. They're a good way to kind of shift where you are away from sugar in a healthy way. We recommend 2 products at a minimum. I'm going to sum this up fast. We could have a whole podcast on all this immune support, but Immuplex, which is a standard process product that will have some zinc in it, will have some of the baseline vitamins and minerals that the immune system needs for a healthy support. Even 2 a day is better than none. 2 twice is probably ideal right now. 2 twice of Echinacea Premium. If you're not a pill taker, if you don't use your resources toward buying supplements, you're going to see, you think maybe Echinacea is expensive, but it's because of the quality, the parts of the plants, the species of the plants. You will get a result. If the price tag is giving you sticker shock, take 1 twice a day. It's better to get a good quality at a lower dose, in my opinion, than to take something that's not working, that's cheaper. So at 1 Echinacea or 2 Echinacea twice a day, Immuplex twice a day. You really need to make sure your vitamin D is adequate. If you live in the Northeast at this time of the year, from October to the end of April, even if you're outside, the angle of the sun's ray is insufficient to stimulate your D production. You go with, I like cod liver oil. It's a natural source of D. The one we use is from a codfish in Norway, which is pressed. It's got some coenzyme Q10 in it. It's got a little vitamin A, got quality vitamin D. I love cod liver oil. That is a good quality for a D source. Some will say it's not enough D and you need to add other sources of D. The jury's out on that. For me, I say 2 tablets twice a day at the peak of this winter for a natural D. And additionally, there's an herb that I've seen work terrifically well for people who have either been exposed to someone directly who's had COVID, or people who have COVID and been diagnosed and tested, or people who work in an industry where their exposure is potentially high and they want to be proactive. It's artemisinin complex. It's artemisinin annuus. It's a very unique species of the plant, working wonderfully. You can't take it every day because the liver figures out how to clear it if you take it every day. So you take it for 4 to 7 days, and then you take a break for 4 to 7 days. The protocol I'm most often using right now is 7 days on, 7 days off, 7 days on. Artemisinin complex. It works terrifically well.
What has happened with people that have come to you? Has anybody come to you and said, I have coronavirus, help me?
Oh yeah, I get calls multiple times a day, emails, calls. Look, I've been in practice for 30 years. People have seen me, family. Just yesterday, one of my patients, her college-age son has corona. The husband's now starting to get symptoms. The elderly parents were living with them. They had to relocate the elderly parents. What can everybody take? Her son has symptoms of a cold. Her husband has a sore throat. Now, you mentioned throat. We have a throat spray that's terrific. Your mucous membranes are your first line of defense. If they're dry, you could spray your throat with a throat spray twice a day. It's the MediHerb line I particularly am fond of and have seen good results. You could spray your finger and moisten the inside of your nose. Mucous membranes, first line of defense against particles. And especially if you're mask wearing, if you have to for whatever reason. So, these protocols are important and powerful and helpful, and sticking with the basics, your echinacea, your immuplex, adding artemisinin complex, which is the annuus species, in a very controlled cyclical way, can be powerful. The patients that are coming in are doing that. I've had patients, one nurse in particular, who has an autoimmune disease. She's been on my protocols for years. She's a nurse. Another nurse took her mask off. They had a meal together. Day later, she was diagnosed. That woman did exactly what I told you, plus our andrographis complex. It's 3 herbs, stimulates T cell production. Really, really effective. She never got a symptoms. She's been tested multiple times. She never got the virus. So this is happening in my office, in my practice, daily, multiple times a day. And I've had my own family members, my uncle, my aunt, COVID positive, compromised, bladder cancer history, all kinds of complicated. Everybody's doing really well. It hasn't been seamless. Sometimes it takes a little tweaking on my part, but for the most part, those 4 products, immuplex, echinacea, andrographis, artemisinin, they're really, really working well. People with lung vulnerability, when they get that cough in place, we usually add some additional herbs for the lungs and for expectorating, mucus and so forth. But yeah.
Can we get Dr. Fauci on the phone, please? Can somebody connect you to, can you talk to Biden and really, this is, I'm not getting political. I'm just saying, here we have some solutions that seem to be working. There's not enough education from this perspective. I am so at a lower level than you are, but when this started, I remember my workout place was open at the time too, so I was using the sauna, the dry sauna, which was, I love that, but they closed and all that. But anyway, but I promised myself that I would exercise. The whole sweating out. Working at home is,
heat shock proteins. That's another good talk.
With what?
Heat shock proteins. So that's what you activate in the sauna that can give you some benefits for healthy aging. And you can stimulate the heat shock proteins. One of the reasons I liked Soul Cycle in my past is that great sweat. It's a way to get rid of toxins, but also to stimulate these proteins in the cell that will protect you over time. They're called heat shock.
Got it. So I said I would continue to exercise. I said I would cut down on sugar but I've gone off the wagon. I'm not going to lie. I do take D, not the kind of D you want me to take. I take C, again, from Amazon. You're probably not going to be on board with it. And we do silver. I do silver drops.
Okay. So I've got to have so many conversations with you.
Yeah, we'll do it offline, right?
Yeah. But silver is a big one. And I just read an article on it. We have a new product that I'm just starting to explore, meaning I'm testing it on people. It's called Silver Sin. So The colloidal silver, I don't recommend. And because silver can settle out into the body, it's not in a particle that gets removed efficiently. So silver can be antimicrobial, but you have to be careful of which form you take. And I don't recommend the colloidal form. So that's just a PS for you. The other thing I want everyone to realize is that vitamin C, because it is a hot topic and it is important, most of what's on the market is the ascorbic acid, which is just the antioxidant portion of the vitamin C. If you're getting a large amount, you're not getting vitamin C. So vitamin C you could get vitamin C in your spinach or in your orange, or you could get it in kale and so forth. You want a food-based source. The standard process C is Cataplex C, or I even like Cataplex AC right now for people for the added, potential assisting the body to manage a virus. Cataplex AC. Most of your C is going to be just that antioxidant portion, ascorbic acid. Be careful of that.
And what else am I taking? And then probiotic, which I've taken for years. Although when I met you, because I didn't mention that Dr. Ann and I had met in person at a dinner one night, a lovely dinner, and you had said to me, the prebiotic is just as important, which I don't take. So
what science has validated is when you stop taking a probiotic, about 4 days later, you lose the benefit. So probiotics are microbes, right? We have 10 to the 1,000 microbes in our gut. So it would be impossible to replace all of them. We've identified a few that we know to be very impactful in health, and most of the probiotic products out there are some combination of those few, which are, potentially beneficial if you take them every day. However, the bigger picture is to feed the healthy guys in the gut, and you do that with prebiotics. That can be like inulin, which is a fiber that you can get in vegetables. Eat your broccoli, you'll get some inulin. However, there are combination products that have pre and pro. So it feeds the healthy guys and replaces some of the more powerful healthy guys. And probiotic, prosymbiotic on the standard process line is one of those. And it's one that we use. We use other companies as well but that's a comprehensive one. And it has a particular organism called Saccharomyces boulardii, which helps inhibit yeast overgrowth. So for somebody with a yeast history, Saccharomyces is important. Anyone with C. diff, Saccharomyces, science shows that to be really helpful as well.
So do you do remote? Because I'm not near you, but if you were here, I would have been to your office already. So how would something like that work?
We do. We have visits set up just like this with Zoom. It's a little more challenging for me because I'm in an office setting. And as I mentioned early in the podcast, that patients are individuals, and it's hard to determine how much time an individual is going to need. So if we put somebody on the schedule for a consult Zoom at 12:45, and my 12:30 patient is sick and has a child at home, is sick and has, so sometimes we do schedule. The simple answer is yes, we schedule Zoom calls, and I've been seeing a lot of people in remote locations because of the ability to do that, and it's helpful. So you call the office and they'll schedule a Zoom consultation for nutrition with me, and we'll have a conversation just like this over Zoom, where I get a history and I determine what I think would be best for you at this time. And then we direct you to our website store, which has a lot of great quality options for you. Some of them get shipped directly. Some of them we have to ship from the office, but we do get you what you need. Yes.
So give us your website, social media, all of that.
Wholebody Solutions, we're www.wholebodysolutions.org. We're outside of Boston in Quincy. We're at 617-328-6300. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We've got a lot of really cool stuff. Sign in, check us out, check out the website. All the products have their own description on them, which is another way to get to know what could help you. And we're really honored to be part of a pilot study that allowed us to showcase standard process online. It's unique. There are only 2 or 3 of us in the country that are allowed to do that. So we worked really hard to get the information up there so that to be accessible to people like you, Ellen, and to people across the United States who might want to be taking action with good quality, controlled, food-based whenever possible, natural medicines.
Let me just add one thing about standard process. For years, I took their chlorophyll. And then when I met you, I mentioned that I stopped taking their chlorophyll. I take something else that's much cheaper. And you said to me, you explained to me what the difference was. And so I need to confess to you that I am still taking the cheap brand. And
Chlorophyll's not that expensive, even on the standard process line.
but I will go, there is a difference, and I completely agree with you. I know, and it's not a sell job. I want people to know this isn't a sell job. Listen, I've been doing this. I've been a patient of this kind of learning for a very long time. And, sometimes it's obviously money, and we're in weird times, and I'm a comic, and, and all that. But, when you think about it, we get I'm just going to be blunt, you get very cheap with your health, but in the long run, if God forbid you get sick or you get like something big, it's going to cost you a whole lot more. And stop with the whole insurance thing, because insurance is a completely different animal. Now, even if you have great insurance, it doesn't mean it covers you 100% or 80%. And we shouldn't look at it as that. That's not a solution. Insurance is really a financial instrument to help you in a bad situation. And the thing is, you never want to be in that bad situation. So it's better to make the investment in good supplements and good and the right foods. And the right foods for me could be just not eating the wrong foods. So elimination. So I you can send me a bill for therapy, and I appreciate this podcast. I do need to go back to therapy. And we really, thank you so much for doing this. You're busy. You're always on other podcasts, and I know that you're doing tremendous work, and I really wish people would be more open, and the medical community would be more open to going down this holistic path, because there are alternatives. It's not just the three things. And, and we won't get into the vaccine, but, that's sort of like a whole.
I would like to say, though, just people need to, if you're choosing to do this, you really want to prepare the body 3 weeks before, continue to support the body in between the doses, and for 3 weeks after. I'm not saying do this or not do this, but please don't do it blindly. I'm already seeing people coming to me that I wish I had spoken to before they went down this road. And you could do things simply like an echinacea premium 3 weeks before. And by the way, never get vaccinated on a day that you don't feel well. Okay. Your immune system's already challenged. It won't be received well. So, echinacea, Immuplex, the same strategies as preparing your immune system to respond in a healthy way with your D and your C and your zinc, and also making sure that those cells have some type of protein activation for protective compounds, which your echinacea premium will do. So 3 weeks before you get your first shot, you want to be supported properly.
So all those people that start a sentence with "when we get the vaccine," like my friend Millie, "when we get the vaccine, Ellen, we'll go to brunch." That's one of those people. She was so excited. What it was 2-3 months ago, Russia came out with the vaccine, and she's like, "Wow, Russia came out with the vaccine. You can take the vaccine from Russia." I'm like, I wouldn't take the vaccine if it was made in Queens. But anyway, that's me.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'm with you on all that. But anyway, well, thank you so much, Dr. Ann. Check her out. Wholebodysolutions.org is the website. I'm going to spend some time tonight, actually, because there was like a ton of articles and things that I need to read, and I'm gonna buy the chlorophyll. And
get your Gymnema for your sugar cravings. Liquid if you want to really get it.
Yes, I do. Well, maybe I'll email you. And I am Ellen Karis. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Greek Chick Comic. I'm also on Facebook, Ellen Karis, Greek Goddess of Comedy. Check out my website, ellenkaris.com, ELLENKARIS.com, where we're going to have this podcast and all the other ones. And until next time, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Ann. Bye.